bhadram bhajatata doksha javeshyatam naumatir apyahai tukim. Hare Krishna. Oh. Okay.
Mars, thank you so much for accepting us, and sorry you were late, it was packed.
No, you're not late, you were only a few minutes late. So you will translate, right?
I will, and my daughter will help me because I have a little problem in my voice. I brought also some help.
Some assistant. Okay. So you asked me to speak something about holy name? Okay. Speak a little bit. And some of the people in the group, they are yoga teachers?
Mainly we have yoga teachers, some of them for the first time ever in India, and very new to Bhakti, but loving everything here in Raj. And seeking blessings of the Vaishnavas.
Okay, so I'll speak accordingly. Hare Krishna. We all know that sometimes we have these strange feelings that we don't belong to this world. Sometimes we're very happy here and it seems to us that everything is fine, but the times come inevitably when we feel something is wrong, something is not proper here. And this very understanding is the cause of all kinds of spiritual traditions, because every spiritual tradition agrees that this world is not our home. That our home is somewhere else, and we will never be completely 100% comfortable or in place here in this world. And of course, the most important reminder, which constantly reminds us that we should have some radical solution to our problems, is the inevitable death, which is, which is awaiting for us. And it reminds us, sometimes very loudly, sometimes softly, but it whispers to our ears, do something about it. Something is wrong. And in many spiritual traditions, the problem is identified, and the problem which we have, which actually deprives us from going to some other place, this problem is identified as the problem of the mind. We have the mind, and unless and until we have this material mind, it's very difficult to change something radically in our situation in this world. Every one of us knows that there is something here which always speaks. Constantly has some sort of talk is going on. And this talk is actually the manifestation of our problem. And we all know that mind, another problem connected with the mind is, of course, that it's easily agitated. It's so easy to agitate the mind, and the mind becomes disturbed. And when you have disturbed mind, you cannot do anything about it. Therefore, Upanishads, they say that mind can be our best friend, but mind is also our worst enemy. And mind, as we all know, being yoga teachers or whatever, is the storehouse of our karma. Ultimately, why mind is so easily agitated? Because there are so many past impressions which are stored in our mind. Our karma is nothing but the program which is ingrained in our mind, inbuilt program within our mind. And Vedic astrology, for example, which deals with the mind, it more or less explains, what kind of, how this program will work in certain periods of time, which problems you will encounter, what kind of disturbances you will have in your mind. And as I said, different spiritual traditions, they're trying to solve this problem of the mind in different ways. How to make mind peaceful and how to make mind conducive for our spiritual, life. Sometimes people take Mauna. It's a very common yogic practice, because when we speak, the very act of speech is agitating the mind. So people think, if the problem is speaking, then if you stop speaking, the problem is solved. Yeah, it will be solved for the time you're silent, but when you start speaking again, the problem will come. It's like if you put some muddy water in some container, and when you agitate the water remains muddy. Then, when you keep it, when you leave it alone, the mud will gradually go down and you see clear water. But then you shake it again and the same thing appears again.
آب گلالودی که اگر شما هرچی لیوان رو هم بزنین آب کدر و گلالوده، ولی اگر یه مدت دلش کنین ثابت بمونه دلش تنشی میشه و شما یه آب شفاف میبینید. ولی اگه دوباره همش بزنین دوباره همون حالت گلالود رو خواهید دید. اتفاق خاصی نیفتاده.
Or sometimes people do some breathing exercise and pranayam, and that also kind of calms the mind to a certain extent. Because in Upanishads it's explained that the mind is penetrated by prana, and when you calm the breathing, then the mind becomes more calm and more peaceful. And when your mind is more peaceful, when the mind is more calm and there is not so much disturbance in the mind, the advantage of this state is that you kind of feel that I'm eternal. This knowledge of eternity, of the eternal existence of myself, is coming more or less automatically when the mind has become pacified. And when the sattva gun will become predominant within the mind. It's very difficult for people with the disturbed mind to explain to them that the soul is eternal. Because they don't have this experience, they cannot relate to this notion that the soul is external. When you are under the influence of this lower gunas, you're so engrossed within the body, then even this understanding, even theoretical understanding, cannot really come to your mind. I have a very peculiar personal experience of this. Once I was traveling in a train, and I couldn't sleep because of some problems, and there was one drunk person who couldn't also sleep. So I was not sleeping, I was trying to chant, and he was not sleeping because he was completely drunk and he was going and doing some nonsense. So ultimately he approached me and he asked me what I'm doing, and I decided, let me preach to this drunk person. And I started from the very beginning. I said, something, you're not this body, something like this. And he said, how is that? He couldn't understand this. He couldn't relate to this concept. So I explained to him the basic science of Bhagavad Gita. I said, look, you were a little child, and your body was different. He said, yes, it was different. And you were thinking in a different way. He said, yes, I was thinking in a different way. And then you grew up and your body changed, and again it was different body and the mind was different, but was it you? He started thinking. He said, no, this was not me.
در تمام این مدت این تغییرات رو که دیدی بدن عوض شده گفته بله، گفته طرز تفکر عوض شده گفته بله، گفته ولی اون بخش اشتراک همه اینا آیا تو بودی یا نه؟ بود در فکر کرده گفتم نه من.
So what I mean to say is if the mind is very disturbed, it's very difficult even to relate to this, even theoretically to relate to this understanding that I'm not this body and the soul is different from the body. But if the mind is peaceful, then this understanding more or less automatically comes, and that's exactly what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita when he says that Sattva gun brings about knowledge. When Krishna speaks about knowledge which is brought about by Sattva gun, he means knowledge of the eternity of the soul, not scientific knowledge, not any other kinds of knowledge, but knowledge of the eternity of the soul. But Sattva gun cannot give you the knowledge of who you are. Sattva gun can give you knowledge of who you are not. You are not this body. Your life is not finished with the end of this body. But Sattva gun cannot give you positive knowledge of who you really are. And therefore, Sattva gun is called Vidya Vritti of Maya Shakti. It gives you some vidya, some understanding, whereas Rajagun and Tamagun, this lower modes of material nature, they're called Avidya Vritti. They completely block your understanding of reality, whereas Sattva gun brings you closer with the understanding of reality, but doesn't give you the full, complete experience of reality. And therefore, to understand who we are, to understand the real nature of our soul, we need some other method. This method of just being silent or, calming mind by breathing exercise is not enough. It's good to give you initial experience, but it's not enough to give you the complete experience or the complete understanding of your nature. And according to the scriptures, different scriptures of different traditions of the world, and this kind of experience is being given by the name of the Lord, by the chanting of the name of the Lord. Every tradition, actually, Sufi tradition speaks about chanting of the name of the Lord. Christian tradition speaks about chanting of the name of the Lord. Vedic tradition speaks about chanting of the name of the Lord. And even Buddhists who don't believe in God, who say that there is no God, they still chant the name of God. So the chanting of the holy name, while calming the mind, it definitely can calm the mind, it definitely can pacify the mind, and in a more powerful way, because it can eradicate the powerful samskaras from our mind completely. It's actually, that's why the name of the Lord is called mantra. Mananam trayate iti mantraha. The definition, the vocabulary definition of mantra is that something which frees you or protects you from mananam. Mananam means, this propensity of thinking too much. This mind which we have, the brain which we have, it consists only 5% of the weight of our body, but it takes around 30% of energy. There is so much is going on all the time here. Chanting of the name of the Lord, repetition of the name of the Lord, and especially loud chanting of the name of the Lord, it really stops this completely chaotic mental activity which is going on. And ultimately, when your mind is completely concentrated on the name of the Lord, you become blissful, you feel very blissful. Otherwise, mind is always disturbed. Mind is always in anxiety. It's always, even if there is no cause for disturbance, the mind itself will find a cause for disturbance. It will, no problem for the mind. So, the name of the Lord, according to every spiritual tradition which speaks about it, brings an experience of connecting with the Lord. Because the name of the Lord, and again, many spiritual traditions agree with this, is non-different from the Lord. But we can only realize this non-difference between the name of the Lord and the Lord Himself if we chant the holy name properly, if the holy name will become one with our mind.
نامقدس ذکر نامقدس با ذهن ما یکی نشه.
The pro...
Excuse me, I stopped. I cannot.
Okay.
میگم که این یکی بودنه فقط وقتی اتفاق میفته که با خلوص نیت ذکر انجام بشه وگرنه یکی نیست این یکی بودنه اتفاق میفته.
You know, if I'm sure you have some experience of chanting of the name of the Lord, and most of the time it doesn't give you very profound experience. Most of the time it's very superficial or sometimes very mechanical, tedious activity which doesn't bring real satisfaction to the heart. And the reason is that real mantra, the definition again of chanting of the holy name, what does it mean? It means that manom madhye mantrastitaha, mantra madhye manastitaha. When the mind and the mantra will become completely one, then only you get this experience of non-difference between the name and the Lord who is behind the name or who is the name. Then only you feel that with the name, the influx of spiritual energy comes to your mind and changes your mind. Whereas otherwise, when you chant in a habitual way, you still have this ego, I am chanting. And this very ego is the main impediment for us to have the experience of non-difference between the name and the Lord. Actually, the main impediment is this habit which we have to view ourselves as a doer. Ahankara vimudatma kartahamati manyate. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, then when you have this ahankar, this false ego, you always feel, I'm the doer. And when it comes to chanting of the holy name, we automatically more or less carry out the same sort of understanding. I am doing this. I am chanting the holy name. The problem with that understanding, by definition, we cannot chant the holy name because we are very small and the holy name is God, you know. Chanting the holy name means I'm bigger than the holy name. It's a completely backward relationship, you know. The holy name is descending upon us, but because we are an illusion, we think that I'm the chanter, I'm the doer. And this understanding is called the 10th offense of the holy name. There are 10 offenses. This is the last offense, most subtle offense of all, but it's the root cause of all other offenses, or of our offensive mentality while we're chanting. Aham mameti paramo, when we think that I and mine, when we, when we extend this concept of I and mind on the realm of transcendence, on the realm of the holy name, on the spiritual realm, we commit offense, and that offense deprives us the real experience of the contact with the holy name. The real experience of the contact with the holy name comes when we completely get free ourselves from this understanding that I am the chanter, and try to become the instrument of the holy name. Try to become the instruments through which, the media through which the holy name, which holy name is using. And therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, while explaining the science of the holy name, he says that the most important understanding which should be there, Trinada Pisanchinata Arora Pisahishnunai, should be more humble than the blade of grass and more tolerant than the tree. This initial impetus to become the servant of the holy name, not the master of the holy name, is the most important starting point to get the real spiritual experience. Sevonmukhehi jihvadu swayamavaspuratadaha. When we become, when we understand that this chanting of the holy name is the act of service, I am the servant in this relationship with the holy name, then the miracle will happen. When we kind of very humbly turn our face towards the holy name. Seva unmukhe. Unmukhe means like when we're serving somebody, we really look at his face and we try to understand what he wants. So the same sort of attitude should be there when we chant the holy name. I'm there to do whatever you like. But much more often we retain the attitude of a master of the holy name. Yes, Hare Krishna, yes, let's do it. So, and that's why it's not effective. It's not as effective as it could be.
تلقائل میریم جلو که آره من الان میخوام ذکر کنم الان همه چی تحت کنترل منه. اون اتیتود یعنی نوع برخورد و اتیتود اصلا اتیتود درستی نیست.
So that's but if we change this attitude, if we try to always remain a servant of the holy name, then very quickly this process, this powerful process of purification of consciousness will act, and we will see the results of this.
ما اگه سعی کنیم که خدمت کننده باشیم به نام‌های مقدس، این تغییر در روح و روانمون خیلی سریع‌تر اتفاق میفته و خیلی روان‌تر پیش میره.
You know, it's technically chanting of the holy name is very simple. You need basically 2 fingers. You don't need these fingers. Only 2 fingers, 1 tongue. To do yoga, you have to do so many different things. But technically, it's very simple. But from the point of view of the proper attitude of properly tuning up our mind, it's very difficult. It's not easy process.
به طور کلی خیلی کار راحتیه. 2 تا انگشت می‌خوام روی زبون، ولی که به طور تکنیکال یک مسیره و بعد رفتار درست رو در جهتش داشته باشیم. دیدگاه درست رو نسبتش داشته باشیم.
در صورتی که برای انجام یوگا خیلی کار سختی مجبور انجام بدیم.
It's much easier to put our leg under the right leg under the left ear than to get rid of our false ego.
با اینکه از لحاظ بیرونی ساده است ذکر کردن، ولی واقعیت اینه که گذاشتن پای راستمون پشت گوش چپمون به مراتب ساده تر است رها کردن منیت کاذبه.
I'm doing yoga almost every day, and sometimes, we have to put our leg here. I know, it's not so difficult. Because yes, our legs are maybe not so flexible, but our false ego is much less flexible than our legs. Our false ego, very stubborn and very strong. And therefore, actually, in Bhakti Yoga, the first step which we have to do in Bhakti Yoga is sadhu sangha. Because when we come in contact with sadhu, and when we see somebody, naturally we become very humble and we try to do something. And that's actually the beginning of Bhakti Yoga, the beginning of real spiritual experience which we may have. And when you get this experience of that's something that the miracle is happening while you're chanting. Actually, I am a scientist by background, and my parents were atheists, my grandparents were atheists, and I was programmed as an atheist. My grandmother, she believed in God, but when I was 4 years old, I was preaching to her, there is no God. So. But then somehow or other, by some inconceivable mercy of the Lord and by Srila Prabhupada's involvement in my insignificant life, I got in contact with devotees and I started chanting when I was 24 at that time. And I did it completely as an experiment. I didn't believe in any God. I just, my friend told me, why don't you chant this mantra? It may help. So I thought, let's try. Maybe it will help. I don't know, but let's try. 40 years later, I'm still trying. I never stopped chanting. But only because I felt that there's something different in this, in the experience of chanting of the holy name, from the very beginning. Actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that when you're suffering, when you are in a very crucial situation, when you are in a very, difficult situation, then the soul automatically will start praying to the Lord from the core of the heart, please give me some light. On a mental level, on the level of the mind, we may not believe in God, but deep within the heart, everyone believes in God. Like there is a Russian saying that in the war, there is no atheists. But what I was trying to say, that and when you pray, when this sincere prayer, which comes from the heart from the soul, actually, when it comes, then the Lord sends somebody to help you. He replies, he reciprocates with this inner desire which you have. So basically, when we have this initial impetus to get in contact, to have spiritual experience of the Lord, and then if we keep this sincere desire within the heart, then so many amazing things will happen. But the main thing to remember all the time is that we should never become proud. Why in difficult situation it's easier to get the experience and it's easier to feel reciprocation with the Lord, because when we are in difficulty, we are naturally very humble.
مهمترین نکته اینه که وقتی این ندا رو در قلبمون احساس میکنیم اونو باید حفظش کنیم و واقعیت اینه که خداوند میاد و کمک میکنه و اگر خالصانه باشه این دعا و این تمرین ما حتما خداوند کمکمون خواهد کرد.
When everything is under our control and we are very, strong and everything is fine, then, we're not humble and we don't need God. We only remember God when it's difficult, when we are in difficulty, and that's why our life is so difficult.
وقتی که همه چی اوکیه کریشنا رو یادمون نمیاد، وقتی که همه چی سخت میشه فقط به فکرشون میفتیم و چون یه چیزی میخوام.
It's too long. I need stop.
Okay, sorry. Sorry for this. Anyway, I more or less said what I wanted to say, that when we chant the holy name of the Lord, of course the initial stage is to calm down the mind, but that's only initial stage. Much more deeper, profound experience is awaiting for us when we continue chanting. Because while we're chanting the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, the image of the Lord can reflect within our mind. And when this reflection comes, then only we can positively understand who we are. I started with this statement that, by sattva gun or by, classical yoga, we can understand who we are not, but we cannot understand who we are. But by chanting of the holy name, we can understand who is God and who we are. Because there cannot be self-realization without God realization. Self is a part of God. We will never understand who we are without realizing who is God. And for that we need to chant the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. I guess that's enough. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Maybe there's some questions.
Maharaj, one of the main topics which occupies, or let's say preoccupies the minds of devotees and all the people in our country now is the situation which is prevailing in our country. So please pray for us, because living in such a disturbed society already was difficult for us, and now it's getting much
Yes,
more extreme. And as a human being, it's difficult to face this level of brutality there.
I know. Yeah, let me speak a little bit about this. This violence which people apply towards each other, the cause of this violence is the false ego.
خشونتی که آدم‌ها نسبت به همدیگه دارن و انجام میدن علتش منیت کاذبه.
Unless and until we, when the false ego remains, when we falsely identify with the body, will remain violent. And this violence may be high, may be lower, but the very proclivity, the inclination for violence will remain within our heart. This ahankara, false ego, is the main cause of all the problems of in this material world. I am this, I am that, and therefore I am better. Ahankara, false ego, means the feeling that I am better than others. I belong to this country, I belong to this religion, I belong to this, to that, and it's there is no end to these false identifications which people have. And actually, whenever we say I, means I am better than others.
به محض اینکه کسی میگه من، یعنی من از باور داره که من از بقیه بهتر.
And the only solution actually is to get rid of this false identity. I'm this body, I belong to this. We're all children of God, and we all one loving family. Now the whole world is in turmoil, not only in Iran, in Russia, in Ukraine, everywhere. People are fighting, the blood is being shed, and so many problems are there. But the root cause is this false identification, this false identity which we all have. And of course, we definitely have to, try to, somehow or other tolerate this or whatever, survive in this difficult situation. But even more importantly, we have to understand what is my contribution to this situation. We may feel I'm completely innocent, these people are so cruel and so brutal. But if I have false identity, I contributed to this situation as well.
با این طرز فکرمون که فکر کنیم ما معصومیم چون منیت داریم، ما هم داریم به این پروسه منفی یه چیزی اضافه میکنیم.
And if I want to be completely immune to all the sufferings and disturbances, again, the only solution is to somehow or other get rid of this false identity and be established within the spiritual identity, which is the real nature of the soul. Any other solution will not solve the problem. It will somehow or other change the problem, but the problem will not be solved. The only solution is to be established within the spiritual identity and in relationship with the Lord. But I'll definitely pray for alleviation of this situation.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sure.
I sometimes have a lot of difficulty doing japa, and it's like kirtan comes way more easy. It's singing and everyone together. It really comes from the heart, my heart at least. And but japa is like it's so isolated in a way, and it has a sort of solidarity inside. So I wanted to know how maybe some
Miraculous solution to this problem.
من اکثرا با کیتان ارتباط بهتری دارم چون آواز خوندن خیلی برای من حداقل بیشتر از قلبم میاد و این در کنار هم بودن و اینا، ولی ذکر کردن جاها خیلی شخصی تره و یه حتی تنهایی، یعنی یه خلوتی با آدم با خودش بکنه و اینا اگه راه حلی داشته.
Chanting is the most powerful, the loud chanting in the kirtan is the most powerful. Taramadi Sarvashreshta Nama Sankirtan. Out of all the methods of bhakti, loud chanting in the kirtan is the most powerful, is the best. Because easily and quickly it gives you some real experience, because naturally your senses are attracted to chanting, and and you become immersed into this sound of the holy name. And while we are chanting japa, we're trying to chant japa, and our mind is chanting something else. But, one technique, if you can call it technique, is that if you try to chant not from the mind and not from the tongue, but from the heart, if you really try to understand that who is supposed to chant, it's not your tongue, it's not your mind who is supposed to chant, it's the soul who is within the heart. If you try to chant from this level, trying to go deeper, not remaining on this superficial level of the mind, but going a little deeper while we're chanting, it may help. At least, again and again you can try to go back to this concept or understanding that I'm chanting from the heart. Like, And if you try to do it from the level of the heart, where our consciousness is, where the real screen of the consciousness is there, then the mind will become a little more peaceful. But then, of course, he will come again singing his song. But you can try it, it works, and it gives you very profound experience.
اگه که سعی کنیم که از قلبمون ذکر کنیم که اونجا آگاهی هستش.
Like even now you can try, not in the mind, not here, but from the heart, just silently try to do one Hare Krishna mantra from the heart. It works. It does work. Anyway. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Yes, I will pray for you. I also have something for you.
This is one gift from group to you.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I have something for you too.